Welcome to the Selling Point Podcast, powered by Transformative Sales Systems, where we cut through the noise and talk about what really moves the needle in sales. I'm your host, Anthony Nix, and today we're tackling a question every salesperson has asked at some point. Why am I not closing more deals? Now think about this. You've put in the work, had a great conversation, maybe even got a few head nods. But when it's time to seal the deal, boom, they hit you with the classic, let me think about it. Or worse, they ghost you. It's frustrating, right? Well, today we're going to unpack why this happens and, more importantly, what you can do to fix it. What is the truth about closing and something that might sting a little? If you're struggling to close, the problem didn't start at the close. It started way earlier in the sales process. The close is just the symptom of a deeper issue. So let's break it down. What is the first mistake? Chasing unqualified prospects. Look, if you're trying to sell steak to a vegetarian, you're wasting your time. And yet, so many salespeople spend hours with people who were never a real fit. Here is an example. I once worked with a rep who kept telling me, man, I've got this deal in the bag. And I asked, great, who's the decision maker? He goes, well, I'm not sure yet. Red flag. If you don't know who actually signs the check, you're not closing that deal. How could this be done better? Qualify better up front. Use frameworks like BANT, budget, authority, need, timing. Or simply ask, if this makes sense, what happens next? Stop spending time with prospects who can't say yes. All right, let's talk about the next big issue, weak discovery. A lot of salespeople rush to pitch without truly understanding the prospect's pain. And if you don't know what's really hurting them, you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks. Have you ever had a prospect say, your product is really interesting, but I'm just not sure it's a priority right now? That means you didn't dig deep enough. How can you dig deeper and gain the understanding you need? Stop asking surface level questions. Instead of, what challenges are you facing? Ask, what's the biggest frustration your team deals with every day? Tie your solution directly to their pain. Get them to talk about consequences. What happens if you don't fix this? Here's an example. Imagine you're selling cybersecurity software and the prospect says, yeah, security is important, but we're managing okay for now. Instead of backing off, you say, got it. Just curious. Have you seen what happened to ABC widgets when they got hacked last year? They lost half their customer base overnight. What would happen if that happened to you? Mic drop. Now, you've made the pain real. Here's another one. Urgency. If a prospect doesn't feel a reason to act now, guess what? They won't. It's like when your dentist tells you to floss. You know you should, but it's not urgent, so you don't do it. Until, bam, root canal time. Now you care? If you're hearing, let me think about it. That's code for, I don't see why this matters right now. How can you help the prospect discover urgency? Quantify the cost of waiting. Use social proof. You could say, most businesses who waited ended up dealing with, and you insert a consequence that is appropriate. You could offer time-sensitive incentives. If we get this done this quarter, you'll be ahead of your competitors before the new fiscal year. I once worked with a client who sold LED signage to schools. They had a school tell them, we might look at this next year. Instead of accepting that, they said, totally understand. But just so you know, schools that installed signs this year saw a 30% increase in event attendance. If that's something you're looking to improve, waiting could mean another year of low turnout. The school signed within a week. Now let's talk about one of the biggest deal killers, a proposal sent too soon. If you send a proposal before they're ready, meaning you haven't done everything we have been talking about. You're basically giving them an excuse to shop around or stall. Have you ever had a prospect say, "Send me a proposal," and then nothing? That's because they weren't ready to buy. They were just collecting info. You should never send a proposal cold. Always present it live once you have completed discovery and have a compelling reason this prospect is going to buy from you. Use verbal agreements first. Ask, "If I send this over as we discussed, are you ready to move forward?" Imagine you're dating. You don't propose marriage on the first date, right? You wait until you know they're ready. It is the exact same thing in sales. And finally, let's talk about the actual close. A lot of salespeople make this way harder than it needs to be. The goal isn't to force them, it's to guide them. I could do an entire episode on closing techniques and will in the future, but let's use the example of an assumptive close. Would you like to get started this week or next? Or give choices. We can go with option A or option B. What feels right for you? You can ask trial closes throughout the process. Does this sound like it would solve the challenges we discussed? I once coached a rep who was terrified of asking for the close. So instead of asking, "Do you want to buy?" I had them ask, "What needs to happen on your end to move forward?" That simple shift changed everything. All right, so let's recap. If you're struggling to close, the issue isn't at the close. It's in how you qualify, how you discover, how you create urgency, how you present, and how you ask for the sale. Could you and your business use help with this? That's where fractional sales management comes in. At Transformative Sales Systems, we help sales teams fix broken pipelines, improve closing rates, and turn almost deals into real revenue. Let's talk. Visit transformativesalessystems.com to book a free consultation. That's it for today's episode of the Selling Point Podcast. If this helped you, please share it with your team and other business owners, and let's keep the conversation going. See you next time, and better selling.